Hey, what's happening, y'all? Matt with Audio Mud Studios here, coming at you with another guitar video. And this time, we're checking out this sexy piece of lacquered wood. Anyway, the especially cool thing about this guitar is that, I built it. So, let's see how I did. You silly mutt. So if you don't know the story, my wife was learning to play guitar, and she wanted one of her own because my 2006 Gibson SG just wasn't engaging enough for her. I kid. She just wanted something that felt like it was hers, and I get it. Anyway, the in the process of researching guitars for her, we came across these DIY kits from StewMac, and they look like they would be a little cheaper than buying a new guitar, so we each got one. We bought her a Telecaster kit and me a 335 kit. The link to the Tele video will be in the description if you want to see how she did with that. But spoiler alert, after getting all the tools, materials, and upgrades that we wanted, it was absolutely not cheaper. Now, I've wanted a hollow body or a semi-hollow body guitar for a long time. They look cool, and while I can't prove it empirically at this point, I do feel like the hollow structure of the guitar changes the tone quite a bit. And I've heard it said that, like in the session guitarist world, that the Gibson 335 is supposed to be super versatile, and it's kind of one of those things where they say you see somebody show up to a session with a 335, you know they mean business. And however, I've also had my eye on a Gresh hollow body for years. Now, when I built this, I could have put in Gibson pickups and made it like a true 335, but I thought it might be cool to try something a little different. Parts-wise, the kit came with everything one would need, but there was surprisingly little information available about what kinds of pickups were actually included in the kit. So I just had to assume that they were, run-of-the-mill generic humbuckers that would be acceptable at best. The guitar itself is a mahogany body with a very thin flamed maple veneer on top. It's got a mahogany glue-in neck and a Pal-Ferro fingerboard. There is binding on both the front and back as well as the neck. I wasn't too impressed with the electronics that came with the kit. In fact, I was planning on switching them out, but what came in the kit were mini CTS pots that were very narrow. So when I got the full-size CTS pots in that I purchased, they wouldn't fit through the holes in the body without additional drilling and widening those holes, which I chose not to do. It also didn't come with the pickguard that I've got on here. I purchased and installed that separately. I also didn't like the cream-colored humbucker mounting rings and the top hat knobs that came with this, so I got replacements. I got the black pickup mounting rings and these kind of, let me lift this up so you can see, amber colored knobs on here. So I switched those out. Upgrade wise, the biggest thing for me was the pickups and the tuning machines. So I put in Diodario. Let's get these in the camera here. Right there. So these are Diodario locking and auto trimming tuning machines. The pickups are TV Jones Classics. That gets that, they're designed after the Filtertrons to get that kind of Gresh vibe. And of course, I switched out the stock strap buttons for Schaller strap locks, just because that's what I use on all my guitars. However, the rest of the electronics, the bridge, the tailpiece, are all just what came with the kit. The building process itself was challenging, but fun. I didn't realize how time-consuming it is to get a guitar ready for assembly, especially since I was really picky with how I wanted the burst to look, and I actually ended up acetoning this and starting over. There are still some little issues that I won't point out, but overall I think it came out okay. it just takes a long time to grain fill, sand it back, grain fill again, sand it back, seal it. Then you can only spray 3 to 4 light coats of lacquer a day, and you've got to get it thick enough that it can be wet sanded and properly finished without sanding through. And we use nitrocellulose lacquer, which has a longer curing time than poly, so it had to sit and cure for a lot longer. I think we left it for a few weeks before we could even start the finishing process. Then once it was ready for finishing, there were so many days of sitting in front of the TV watching Critical Role and just wet sanding and polishing to get it nice and shiny, which that's just part of it. Another thing that I did was hand scrape all the binding. I read that you can either tape off your binding before spraying your color coats, or you can go ahead and spray your color coats over the binding and then scrape them clean with a razor blade. And I also read that in the Gibson Custom Shop, they hand scrape all their bindings. And since I was building a Gibson ES335 style guitar, I wanted that experience of trying to do it like the Gibson Custom Shop. Now, that took a lot of time, and I kind of wish I just taped it off, because if you look, you can tell. But that's also part of the draw of a handmade guitar, is there's going to be the little imperfections. So overall, it looks great. The front has this great burst. Look at that. Oh, it's pretty. It goes from a vintage amber on the inside and then melts into like a cherry red, and then I've got the dark mahogany red on the outer edge. The back, the sides, and the neck are all the deep mahogany red. You can see here. Oh, man. Yeah, look at that. And see if I can get this in the camera. There's even this cool like striping that's going on the neck and the wood. It looks great. The headstock has a little flamed maple veneer that I did like the cherry red to the dark mahogany red burst on that. I like bursts, if you couldn't tell. Another important thing to note is that none of the holes were chamfered already, so if you do build one of these kits, especially one that has the thin maple veneer on it, make sure that you get some sandpaper and chamfer those a lot. I didn't get one of the holes up in the headstock chamfered quite enough, and then as I was trying to fit the tuning peg through, it caught on that thin maple veneer and caused a little bit of damage. I was able to fix it with some filler and lacquer pens, and it's mostly covered by the washer anyway, but I'm always going to know it's there. Anyway, I've prattled on long enough. Let's check out some tones. Signal flow wise, we're going from the 335 to the DI. The throughput is going into my HX effects with a little compression, and then onto the Vox AC15, which is mic'd up by a Shure SM57, and a Slate ML2, which is modeling a Royer R121. Clean tone position 1, bridge pickup. Clean tone position 2, bridge and neck. Clean tone position 3, neck pickup. Clean tone modified position 2, with the tone rolled back on the neck pickup and the volume rolled back on the bridge pickup. High gain crunch tone position 1, bridge pickup. High gain crunch tone position 2, bridge and neck. High gain crunch tone position 3, neck pickup. Okay, so my thoughts on the whole thing. Was it fun? Yes. Especially doing it alongside my wife. That was awesome. Was it interesting and did I learn stuff? Absolutely. Did I learn to appreciate guitar techs and luthiers more? Definitely. Was it cheaper? Heck no. Well, I mean, I guess depending on what you're comparing it to, right? Because a Gibson ES335, made in the USA, is, I think it sells for somewhere around $3,000 at minimum, and there's some that are closer to like $6,000 to $8,000, brand new out of the factory. This definitely did not cost me anywhere near that much, but like an Epiphone 335 or a Gresh made in a factory in Asia that would look and sound just as good probably would cost between $500 and $800, which is about what we ended up paying for, with the kit, all the tools, and the upgraded parts, which doesn't account for all the time and labor that we put in. So was it worth it? Maybe. Look, it's a cool project. If you want to build a guitar with your spouse or your kid as a family activity, I think it's awesome. If you feel like we did and you want to put in better electronics and hardware so that it could keep up with the better instruments in your collection, I get it, absolutely. But the factories over in Indonesia and Korea and Thailand, etc., they're too cost efficient. So unless you know that your personal workmanship can compare to that of the actual Gibson or Fender custom shops here in the States that would charge you several $1,000s for a similar guitar, you're probably better off just purchasing a guitar off the shelf. What you're paying for here is the experience. It's the memories, the skills learned, and just the pride of accomplishment, which was great for me. And Laura and I now have 2 really cool instruments that one day we get to hand down to our kiddo. Wow, that's a crazy thought. Anyway, what are your thoughts? Leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear about any experience you've had with guitar building, whether from a kit or from scratch. If you have any tips or tricks to help out with my next build or a fellow viewer's possible attempt at building a guitar. I will tell you, I have a crazy plan to build a crazy version of a Les Paul at some point in the future if I can get together the funds to make it happen. It's going to cost me almost $2,000 for the kit and all the parts, but holy moly, would it be something to see in here. I don't know when that'll happen, but I'm kind of excited to dive into that and make it happen and share it with you guys. Be sure to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell to get informed whenever we release a new video. Links to parts and resources will be in the description, as well as links to the AudioMutt website and our merch store. I'm constantly trying to come up with new design ideas, so check back periodically to see if there's something new that works for you. As always, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. I love you. You are awesome. And have a good one.